Welcome back to Tiny Tavern Talks, everybody. I'm your co-host Nas, joined with Ali, and we're gonna talk about everything D&D, guys. Whether we're all about the embracing the chill, keeping it as cozy as your favorite pair of slippers. That's gonna be our motto right now. Every time talking about the slipper. So last week's episode, we covered 4 classes. Those were the first 4 builds we talked about. And in this week's episode, we're gonna follow up with 4 other classes, and at the end, we're gonna talk about the world that we guys started teasing about last time. Isn't that right, Ali?
Yep,
So
this week's builds are very interesting,
I'm
to
pretty
say the
sure they are.
least.
They have a theme, right? Like the builds for this week have a separate theme.
Correct. These builds are going to be focused on the natives of the land, the different races and backgrounds they have.
Sounds good. So we're gonna kick things off. First of all, what I'm reading here is we have the Moonspirit. Oh, she's called Moonspirit. That's her name.
Yes.
Can you give us a little insight about her? Go deep dive and what's the philosophy behind her and who is she?
Okay, so the idea was I wanted to create a nomadic character from a nomadic tribe. They can commune with their ancestors and they can commune with nature and animals and spirits, like a type of a chosen one shaman-esque character. And that's basically what Moon Spirit is. Moon Spirit, she was born special. She could commune with the spirits of their ancestors, and she also has the power to commune with the nature. And as such, she needs to follow her calling and go on an adventure to seek, get more experience, and fulfill her destiny.
So that's pretty much giving someone like a background, a description of who the character is. But what
Yeah.
is the character? How do you play her? What's the fantasy that you thought of when you wanted to build this character? So last week we had like a warmonger, we had a witch doctor.
Yeah.
So it was more focused on a flavor of class. Are we still keeping
Yeah,
that
she's
same style
a
of presentation, or is it going to be like, can they only play her if she's a chosen one, or like, is there another way to play? What's her build? How do you play her?
well, that was the specific version that I would go with, but it's the generic version would be she's a spiritual shaman that can commune with spirits and animals. So a spiritual shaman or a spiritual shamanistic druid, they both work. For her build, if you want to get to it, she's obviously a human. Variant human, starting with the mobile feat, and her ASIs are 1 point in charisma and 1 point in wisdom. Talking about abilities, so she has 8 strength, 13 dexterity, 12 constitution, 8 intelligence, 15 wisdom, and 15 charisma. The background that fits with the character that I went for was far traveler, and for the starting equipment, we're starting with a quarterstaff, scale mail, and a shield. And we're getting this from level 1 as a druid. And yeah, level 1 Druid, you obviously learn Druidic, which is a Druid language, and you get first level spellcasting. Second level, Druid again, we finally get to pick our Druid circle, and we're going for Wild Shape, Circle of the Moon.
So are we sticking for druid for a long time on this class, or it's going to be another multi-classer?
It is a multi-class, and right away at level 3, changing directly to Bard, getting our Bardic Inspiration, another set of first level spells, expanding our spell knowledge. And level 4, now we're 2 levels into Bard and 2 levels into Druid. We pick up Jack of all trades and Song of Rest. And at level 5, we pick up our Bard College, which is College of Spirits. We get second level spellcasting, Guiding Whispers, and Spiritual Focus. And we also get Tales from Beyond. Now, at this level, you're mostly casting spells, casting a concentration spell, transforming, going to battle. You can survive in the front line, you can support in the back lines. You're a very strong, supportive level 5 character. Also, you have a lot of ways to dish out damage, whether it's with your wild shape or the spells you picked up as a bard. Now, level 6, we're taking another level. This time we're going our final level in bard. So 2 levels in druids and 4 levels into bard. We're picking up our ability score improvements and we're adding 2 points into charisma. And then next level, we're going to go back to druid, making us druid 3, bard 4, and picking second level spellcasting from our druid level. At level 8, we're going to be druid 4, wild shape improvements, and we get another ability score improvement, and we're going for wisdom +2. Level 9, we get third level spellcasting, and then the next level, we're going to get primal strikes and more circle forms. And at level 11, we're going to get fourth level spellcasting. And the final level, we're getting wild shape improvement, and we're going to pick up the feat Warcaster.
So
So when
again,
it
this
comes to
week,
spells,
sorry, go
yes.
ahead, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, when it comes
Finish the
to
build.
spells for this build, you mostly want to focus on support and summon spells that require concentration. Basically, a turn would go like you summon, let's say, woodland beings, You shape shift into a bear, let's say, and just like this, you're already like having a lot of presence on the map, a lot of pressure on the enemies. You have a whole extra bar from your transformation, and on any turn, you can undo your transformation, heal an ally. You have a lot of reactions if you don't want to transform. You want to play it safe this time before you go in and commit. You can have spells like Silvery Barbs, Wither and Bloom, Summon Fae, Summon Elemental, Healing Word. There are so many spells that you get from Druid and Bard that make this that make this build the ultimate support and tank build.
So your whole purpose is either to be a tank or a support,
Hmm.
and utilizing the best
Basically,
out of the bard and the druid, if I'm correct.
true.
And like last week, so we're capping everything off at level 12. So for those who don't know, the reason why we're capping at level 12 is because a lot of campaigns do finish at level 12. And basically, going further than that, a lot of the 5e content ends up breaking, or like the game breaks after level 12. It becomes way too broken for the players. So that's why a lot of content doesn't go over there. And the average campaign, like people stay until like level 9, I think. If I recall, that's what I read last time.
Hmm.
So we figured level 12 is a very solid level. Plus, also Baldur's Gate 3, you end up capping at level 12. So it's very familiar with a lot of people who want to like tiptoe into D&D and not knowing what direction to go. Now, one thing I noticed, you're less enthusiastic talking about the druid compared to, for example, the warmonger and the other characters from last week.
Look,
I don't want
I'm a
people thinking that
martial
this
at
is a
heart.
bad character.
No, it's not. It's actually far from it. Me personally, I'm a martial at heart. I love martial characters. That's where I thrive. That's what I enjoy the most. But this build, even though it wouldn't be something that I would personally play, I would love to have someone on the table playing this build.
So
Just
having someone on your
understanding
team
that,
playing this, you'd feel safe. Am I
oh,
right?
oh, I'd feel more than safe. Like you have a tank slash healer. Other than that, also like outside of combat, she has high wisdom and high charisma, handling difficult interactions, seeing traps, high perception, high insight. Perfect character for interactions and dealing with situations. I actually love this character outside of combat more than inside of combat, personally, based on my playstyle.
Nice.
But it's a very strong build.
So for this week, we have a mix of two sort of martial classes and two sort of caster classes. The next one on the
Yes.
list is quite the, let's say,
Mm,
unique character. It took us a bit of time to
yes.
actually create. So, giving you guys a little background, creating him and giving him life on our shorts was actually one of the hardest, since he doesn't have a humanoid face per se. So it ended up being one of our lowest quality videos in terms of shorts. Ironically enough, it's one of the best, uh, let's say,
Performing.
scripts it did. It was a very dumbed down script,
Yeah.
and it's about a bugbear. The story of a bugbear sniper. Can we talk about that one for a bit?
So bugbears usually when you look at around like optimized builds and whatnot, people like to play a bugbear that's a melee fighter because of their reach. They have an extra 5 feet of reach, making it 10 feet on melee attacks. But for me, I wanted to capitalize on the other racial feature that people usually optimize on, and I didn't want to break it, giving him multiple attacks. So I was mostly focused on like a single strong attack or two attacks post level 5. And the ratio that they have is a surprise attack. Now, if you had a creature with an attack roll, the creature takes an extra 2d6 damage if it hasn't taken its turn yet. And that will give you like a sneak peek to what subclass we're going for. So yeah, starting at level 1, we're gonna be a ranger. Our race is bugbear. As I said, you get surprise attack, dark vision, long limb. You have Fey ancestry now, and your sneaky proficiency in stealth, and
So we're
powerful
not
build.
using the legacy bugbear, right? We're using the newer
No,
bugbears.
the newer bugbears.
All right,
And
sounds good. Just to
ASIs is going to
clarify
be
for people.
correct. So in ASIs, we're going to set 1 point in con and 2 points in dexterity. And for our point buy method, we're going to go for strength 9, dexterity 15, constitution 13, intelligence 13, wisdom 14, and charisma 8. The stats might seem kind of weird, but you'll understand the more we level up and allowing us to multi-class into different things. Now at level 1, we get favored foe and deft explorer from the ranger. And this is from the Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, the optional ranger. And at
Yeah,
level 2, we pick up our fighting style and we pick up archery. Archery is by far the best fighting style in the game.
hence the name Sniper.
Yes. And you also get first level spellcasting. Rangers, they have, like, unlike paladins where they can use their spell slots for smites, rangers don't have that. People like to compare Hunter Mark to Smite. One of them is DPR, the other one is first. But Smite is way more, like, powerful. So mostly with our ranger spells, we're gonna go for Hunter's Mark, obviously, and supportive abilities, like Cure Wounds, for example. Now at level 3, we get our ranger archetype, and we're going for Gloomstalker. Now, Gloomstalker gives us two extra feats, which are Dread Ambusher. And basically, what it does is at the start of your turn of each combat, your walking speed increases by 10 feet and lasts until the end of turn, and you take an extra attack action that turn. So the first turn you have, you attack an extra time, and you deal an extra 1d8 of damage. And for classes that don't have dark vision, you also get Umbral Sight, which is basically dark vision, but we already have dark vision, so it will just increase our dark vision by an extra 30 feet. At level 4, we're gonna take the Piercer feat, rounding up our dexterity to 18, plus giving us the effects. Now, what Piercer does is it once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack that deals piercing damage, you can reroll one of the attack's damage dice, and you must use a new roll. So let's say this one isn't as strong, but since we're going to be using a heavy crossbow, it comes into account more than other weapons. And now, when you score a critical, like the other feats, Piercer, Crusher, and Slasher, Piercer allows you to roll an additional die of damage, making your crits even more worthwhile. And then we're going to take our last ranger level, picking up extra attack, allowing us to do 4 attacks in our first round of combat. And if we hit an unassuming enemy, which is an enemy that didn't take their turn yet, we deal extra 2d6 from our ratio from Bugbear. After that, we're going to go Artificer. Now,
So go gadgets.
basically, going Artificer here will help us in two major ways. First of all, let's say we're not lucky. Our DM is being mean to us. We don't get our magical crossbow. No problems. We can make our own magical crossbow. And other than that, we no longer need the crossbow expert feat because you can pick up the infusion at level 2 of Artificer, making the build level 7, repeating shot, giving you +1 to bonus, +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls, magic property, and if weapon lacks ammunition, it produces its own, automatically creating 1 piece of magic ammunition when the wielder makes a ranged attack with it. So ammunition are no longer a problem, and reloading is no longer a problem.
Nice. See, I always
Yeah.
think artificers are like a very good class that like can either complement another class. Even by themselves, they stand really
Mhm.
tall. But it's a good class to complement.
For me, Artificer is the perfect like multi-class into. You can always multi-class into Artificer to get magical items, armor proficiency, specific spells. Even for wizards, for example, they don't get a lot of healing spells and support spells that Artificer does. So it's a very nice multi-class option. Now, after 7 levels in, we're 5 levels Ranger, 2 levels Artificer. We're picking up Rogue now, our third class. Now, Rogue level 1, we get expertise. Here, I recommend taking stealth, your expertise in stealth, allowing you to land those sneak attacks easier. And for the other option, just pick your favorite. You also get sneak attack and Thieves' Cant. You can communicate with Thieves' Cant. It's a rogue exclusive language. Now, at level 9, we're 2 levels into rogue, and we get Cunning Action. Cunning Action allows us to dash, disengage as a bonus action, or hide as a bonus action, freeing up our actions. So you can hide, and if you're successful, you can attack with advantage on your turn. And keep in mind, you're a Gloomstalker, so even if it's dark, you have a great opportunity to hide and do more damage with advantages. At level 10, we're going to pick up a roguish archetype, and we're picking up Assassin. Now, with Assassin, we get a bonus proficiency, and we also get Assassinate. Starting at level 3, you are at your deadliest when you get the drop on your enemies. You have advantage on attack rolls against any creature that hasn't taken a turn in the combat yet, which synergizes with our Bugbear racial feat, or racial trait, and Gloomstalker. And then we're going to take one more level into Rogue, picking up the feat Sharpshooter. And the final level is going to be also into Rogue, picking up Uncanny Dodge.
So you're making him like a long range, sneaky sniper that no one can see, but he can see them and can shoot from far.
Basically. When I first was thinking of this idea, right? The first draft was a way more optimized version of this, going for crossbow expert, dual wielding hand crossbows, dishing out a lot of damage on turn 1. But I felt that that build is very hard to achieve. Acquiring hand crossbows is already a headache uh, throughout in most campaigns. So that's a big no-no there. So I opted for a more one-shot, one-kill kind of a sniper assassin build.
A headshot build. Literally, boom headshot,
Bas-
right?
Basically.
Now, how's his intelligence? Because, see, I know for a fact you as a person, you like to build characters that are goblins, bugbears, hobgoblins. You like this type of races. How does
hmm
he deal with the whole fitting into society?
Now, usually in campaigns, you're going to always be singled out if you're the only monstrous race in your party. But I feel that's where role playing kicks in. Like, even I believe that people that are not comfortable in role playing should pick these races because it puts you in situations where you gotta think. You gotta save this character. If I do the wrong thing, I have already eyes on me. So usually with goblins, it's way easier. But for a bugbear, for example, how I would go about it is hiding. Specifically with this build, you're already a gloomstalker, so going to towns at night, being hooded, playing that role of the mysterious man in the party. There's so many
The
things you can go
mysterious
about.
bugbear.
Basically.
Nice. For the third build,
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about a monk now, right? But this is a race that you
Yes.
actually enjoy a lot, the
This is
Genassis.
my favorite race
It's your favorite race in all of D&D, if I
in all of
recall, right?
D&D. I love Air Genazis. I
All
loved
right.
Air Genazis before they got buffed.
So it's true. Well, your first character was a Genasi, if I recall.
Yes.
The first
Yes.
character
So
you
Air
ever built in
Genazis,
D&D 5e.
yeah, Air Genazis used to be the worst between the Genazis, but now, in my opinion, they're the best.
Nice, nice.
So
So,
basically,
yeah,
yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
Now, as an Air Genasi, you get to pick your size, but for this build, we're going to go for medium. You have 35 movement speed. You have dark vision, finally. Unending breath. You can hold your breath until you die. You have lightning resistance and mingle with the wind. Now, you get shocking grasp cantrip, which is a good cantrip for melee range. At third level, you can cast Featherfall. And at fifth level, you can cast Levitate. All these spells are very clutch spells. They're not damaging spells for sure, but they're very, very, very clutch outside of combat. And for this, we're going to obviously pick Wisdom for our ability modifier. So yeah, Air Genasi, and for our class, level 1, I'm going Fighter. Now, before I get to more about Fighter, I'm going to start with the background. For this build specifically for the background, I went for the Giant Foundling feat. Sorry, the Giant Foundling background that gives me the Strike of the Giants feat. And between
Is
the
that from
Strike of
the
the
new
Giants,
book?
I'm going to pick. Yeah, that's from the new book. And I'm gonna go for Strike of the Giants, Hill Strike. And why specifically Hill Strike? Hill Strike allows you to knock your enemies prone per attack. And when your enemies are prone for melee fighters, you always have advantage on attacks. Now, for our ability scores, from Ergenasi, I'm gonna set 1 point to Dexterity, 1 point to Constitution, and 1 point to Wisdom. Our ability point buy is gonna be 8 Strength, 15 Dexterity, 15 Con, 8 Intelligence, 15 Wisdom, and 8 Charisma. Very mid-maxed.
So this is very optimized.
And
This is like very, very
yeah,
optimized.
yeah. Now, for level 1, we're gonna start Fighter. I'd recommend taking Scale Mail. And for the fighting style, we're picking up an armed fighting, and we also get Second Wind. Now, starting level 2, we're gonna drop Fighter for a while, and we're gonna pick up Monk. Level 2 Monk, you get an armored defense and martial arts. Now, usually a Monk at level 1, you do 1d4 punching damage, but with the unarmed fighting feat, you do 1d8 if you're not holding anything on either hand, which is basically what we're going to be doing with this build. At level 3, we're going to get Key with Monk and an armored movement, increasing our movement speed. Now at level 4, 3 levels into Monk, we get our Monastic Tradition, and we're picking up Way of the Long Death. We get Deflect Missiles from Monk, and we get Touch of Death from Way of the Long Death. And basically what it does, it allows you to extract vitality from another creature as it nears its demise, so when you kill it. When you reduce a creature within 5 feet of you to 0 hit points, you gain temporary hit points equal to your Wisdom modifier plus your Monk level, which is a very good survivability option, especially if you're going hard punching enemies with D8s. It's a very it's a very strong way to keep up your health. Now, at level 5, we're going to be Monk 4, and we're going to improve our ability scores 2 and Dexterity, and we also get Slow Fall from Monk. At level 6, we get extra attack from Monk and Stunning Strikes. And at level 7, we're still in Monk, and we're going to get our Key Empowered Strikes, making our attacks magical. And we get an Armored Movement, and we get also Hour of Reaping from our subclass. Now, Hour of Reaping, basically as an action, you terrify those around you, for your soul has been touched by the shadow of death. When you take this action, each creature within 30 feet of you that you can see must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be frightened of you until the end of your next turn. It's a very controlly ability, very clutch in situation when you're overwhelmed with enemies and you have no way out. You can frighten them. It's also good to save your allies with as well, because even in those situations when you're surrounded by a lot of enemies as a monk, you have so many ways out of it. You can bonus actions, spend a key point, disengage, action, dash, and run away from there. But let's say you're there, you're in the front lines with your allies, and things are getting tough. It's basically a get out of jail free card. Now, after level 7, which we took our 6th monk level, we're gonna go back to fighter at level 8, picking up action surge for more options in combat. Now, in combat, we can, if we want to burst down an enemy, action surge always helps, allowing us to get another action. Now, at level 9, we're gonna multi-class for the 3rd time, going for cleric, picking up the grave domain cleric. We get our first level spellcasting. We get Circle of Mortality, and we also get Eye of the Grave. Now, the reason I went for Grave Cleric in the first place was for flavor. I really like the idea of mixing the Grave Domain with the Long Death. That thin line between life and death.
So like adding the cleric, going into fighter, and starting off as a monk. What's like the general flavor of this combination that you would like name it as a class?
So you know about
The-
like in martial arts, the touch of death.
Oh, okay, yeah, you went with that touch of death type of attack style of martial
Basically,
artist.
and basically, so how we're gonna basically be able to do this with this build is the following. So I'll just talk a bit more about Circle of Mortality.
Go for it.
Basically, when you would normally roll a one or more dice to restore hit points with a spell to a creature, you instead use the highest number possible for each die. Already very powerful ability. You also get Eyes of the Grave. You gain the ability to occasionally sense the presence of the undead, whose existence is an insult to the natural cycle of life. That's a very important point. Important point for people that like Grave Domain Cleric is it sounds when you read Grave Domain, you always think of undeads, but this is the total opposite. You hate undeads. They desecrate the graves. And anyone that desecrates graves, anyone that disrespects life and or death. So you hold that balance between both. And basically this is where you stand. And now level 2 in Cleric. Now we're at total level 10. We get our channel divinity Path to the Grave. In my opinion, the strongest channel divinity between all the cleric subclasses. As an action, you choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you, cursing it until the end of your next turn. The next time you or an ally of yours hits the cursed creature with an attack, the creature has vulnerability to all attack damage. That means they take double damage from any source of damage that you can dish out. Stronger than a crit even.
Nice. And we all know how much we all love our clerics, huh?
So basically at this level, how your turn goes around is following. You would action, channel divinity, Path to the Grave. You would action surge, go in, punch, flurry of blows, blowing all like basically gonna attack bonus action flurry of blows, dealing a lot of damage, 4d8s worth of damage plus your modifier, basically doing a huge amount of burst damage. Another way another way you can utilize this channel divinity is if you have another party member that has bigger burst damage than like let's say you have a paladin in your party that can come in, hit once, smite with like third level spell, then hit again, smite with third level spell. But keep in mind that all attacks that only the first creature deals are affected by the vulnerability.
I understand.
Now, at level 11, we're going to go back to Monk, picking up Stillness of Mind. And level 12, we're going to get our ability score improvements from Monk, 2 points, rounding up our dexterity to 20. And yeah, this is the Touch of Death or Wind of Death, Air Genasi.
So that's the Air Genasi
Yeah.
monk, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So we have one last one to do.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, I think, is very different from the three we just spoke about. But they all share like an overarching theme that we're going to talk about in terms of lore after the last build.
Yes.
So the last one, we were calling it the Divine Savior. Am I correct?
Divine Servant.
The Divine Servant. My bad. Divine Servant. So this Divine Servant, which is actually launching to yesterday. Sorry. Wow. I'm like looking at the calendar. So that one is the last one we did in terms of the shorts. It's actually a very well designed shorts in terms of video. Give people an idea of how you want to go building it, and why did you use a hobgoblin for a divinity servant? It doesn't usually
So,
come to people's first ideas for a holy servant.
so in Mom, the new book, Hobgoblins got
So for
changed.
what's mom?
Monsters of the Multiverse.
Okay, so basically we're going to be using a lot of acronyms because I know a lot of people sometimes listen to us for the first time. So some of the acronyms we used until now, if you don't know about it, so ASI means ability score improvement. So those are the abilities that you use. And a lot of time when we say about Tasha, it's the Tasha Cauldrons of Everything, the book. And now Mom is the
Mhm.
Monster of the Multiverse, one of the newest books that came out that actually give us a refresh on some of the races for D&D.
And one of the big ones were, in my opinion, the Hobgoblin. They kept some of their essence, but they changed the flavor behind it. So instead of Safe Face, they have Fortune of the Many. Before it was the pride of a hobgoblin that basically if you fail, you can re-roll again, so you can save face. But now it's portion of the many. But the idea came because when I was reading about the hobgoblin and I was reading about their fake gift, one of the fake gifts was called hospitality. And basically,
Okay.
what fake gift does as a whole is when you use help, you can use it as a bonus action, and you can do that proficiency bonus per proficiency bonus times per day. But when I say per day, I mean per long rest. And at third level, you get to choose hospitality, passage, or spite, and it gives you extra bonuses. But for this build, we're going to be mostly using the hospitality version. This guy is a servant. He's a divine servant. He's been blessed by the holy to serve the masses.
Okay.
So at
So
level one, yeah,
he wants to serve everyone without any remorse and also without strings attached.
basically he's a very selfless servant.
Okay.
So at level one, we're gonna pick up Paladin. He's still figuring out how to serve people. This is how it starts. But before I talk about Paladin, I'm gonna talk more about abilities and description. We're gonna go for abilities. I opted to go for 15 strength, 8 dexterity, 15 constitution, 8 intelligence, 8 wisdom, and 15 charisma. Very mid-maxed like the monk before him. And our ability score improvements are gonna go to charisma, 2 points in charisma and 1 point in strength. Now, for equipments, I would recommend picking up a longsword, a shield, and chainmail. And for your description, you're a hermit. I took hermit for their medicine proficiency. So pick your favorite if you have a custom background that would suit this build more. With the medicine proficiency, knock yourself out. Now, at level 1, we are a paladin. We get divine sense and lay on hand. Lay on hand, you can cure disease or poison or heal for 5 points. You have a pool of 5 points. You get 5 per level in paladin. At second level, we're gonna pick up fighting style. And for our fighting style, I'm gonna be taking the Blessed Warrior. Now, Blessed Warrior is a fighting style, quote unquote, that allows you to pick up 2 cantrips from the cleric list. And I'm gonna be picking up Guidance and Spare the Dying. You also get first level spellcasting. You're gonna be mostly using it for Bless and Cure Wounds. You also get Divine Smites for the occasional smite. When you get the itch to smite. At third level, we're gonna get our Sacred Oath, and we're gonna go for the Oath of Devotion. We also get Divine Health, we can no longer get sick. We get our Channel Divinity, and we also get our Oath spells. At level 4, to make casting easier, I went for the Warcaster feat. And this is gonna be our last level in Paladin. We're not going for a damage focus build with this guy. We're going for a supporty build. But surprisingly enough, even surprised me while I was building him. He can still dish out a lot of burst damage. He doesn't need the extra attack from level 5. So yeah, at level 5 we're gonna pick up Sorcerer. And the Sorcerer's origin is gonna be Divine Soul. You get first level spell casting. You pick up Healing Word, which is a ranged spell, ranged healing spell, the best healing spell in my opinion. You also have your Divine Magic, and I'm gonna go for good for this build. And you also get favored by the gods. If you fail, you don't fail. You roll 2 extra d4s, which synergizes with the Gift of the Fae feature that hobgoblins get. At level 6, you get Font of Magic. Level 7, you get second level spellcasting. And you also get Meta Magic. I'm going to be picking up Quickened Magic and Twin Spell, twinning your healing words or quickening your cure wounds. And at level 8, we're going to be improving our Charisma, +2. At level 9, we're going to get our third level spellcasting from Sorcerer. And at level 10, we're going to get Empowered Healing Feat from the Sorcerer. Now, every spell level you get, you also have access to the Cleric spell list. So you have all the support spells that you could wish for. Pick your favorites. There are iconic ones, obviously, like Level 1, bless, cure wounds, healing words. And then at level 11, we're gonna get our 4th level spellcasting. And at level 12, we're gonna maximize our charisma to 20 with an ability score improvement. And basically, that's the build. The build isn't that hard to pull off, and it's not that hard to play either. But at the same time, it's very surprising in so many ways. You can smite at 4th level, rolling a lot of extra d8 whenever you need to deal that extra damage. You have a lot of spell slots. You can bonus action Booming Blade, for example, with the quickened magic. There are so many ways for you to deal damage with this build, but I still love playing this build in a supporty, optimistic, very selfless personality. And
So,
that's basically the final build we made.
so is this something you'd actually play instead of a martial class? Like, since I know you love martial classes, would this be one of the classes you'd play that's not a martial?
Personally, yes. If let's say I joined a table and let's say we're playing Curse of Strahd or we're playing any campaign, and let's say I'm playing with players that are relatively new and it's a more difficult campaign, and they all obviously everyone that first plays D&D, they have that fantasy they want to bring to life, whether they want to be the knight in shining armor or the wizard from a tower, or you know what I mean. So usually people go for the damaging builds. This build does a lot. You can clutch out damage when you need to. You can keep your allies safe. You can heal them. You can take aggro. You can be the focus of attention, like bringing enemies to you. You're always, and basically, and the personality of this character fits mostly with like veteran players as well. Like role playing this will bring them so much like satisfaction being a facilitator, helping in and outside of role playing.
Yeah, so basically you're looking at a complete character that can be useful in roleplay, in gameplay, and
Yeah.
fighting.
Yeah. All of these characters, by the way, are basically all these builds. For example, Wind of Death character is easy to RP. The Ergenasi, he's easy to RP, but he's harder to play and perform with in combat. The Bugbear, his combat is very straightforward, but his RP is harder. Moonspirit is hard to pull off perfectly, though it's easy. Like it's easy entry, but like hard to master, knowing when to use what, because when you transform, you can't cast new spells anymore. So understanding when to use what is very clutch and very important. But the Divine Servant is a very easy to pick up, easy to master, fun to play, creates even a positive atmosphere in your table. Like if someone comes in and playing a campaign, he pulls up this character sheet, I'll be like, man, I love you.
Nice. So to recap, this week's classes, all right? So this week we got the Moonspirit, the Druid. We have Bugbear, Sniper. We
Hmm.
have the the Air Genasi Monk. And
Hmm.
lastly, the Divine Servant. So those are this week's 4 classes. And in terms of what brings them together, I think this is where my time to shine comes in.
Hmm.
We actually put them in a zone in Eldolor, is that right?
Yep.
So the new zone is actually called the Mirage Oasis. We're actually releasing an episode about it uh, next week. Either I think it's this week. I think it's this week actually. No, it's this week. We're releasing an episode this week
Yeah.
about it. We're gonna talk more about the Mirage Oasis. Last week we talked about the Ardent Waste. So the Ardent Waste is the first continent we're officially introducing in our D&D series. That we figured we need to put the characters in a certain world, in a certain setting. Of course, they can be put into any setting. This druid can be the Moon Spirit can be played into any setting. I can put her in Faerun on Sword Coast, and she'll fit right in. But we wanted to create a world that's like cohesive in terms of the characters that we're building. And the first one is
And
the Ardent Waste is the first zone that we're exploring. So the first zone is going to have 7 different regions. The world of Eldolor is comprised of 8 distinct continents, and we're attacking the
Mhm.
first one, the Ardent Waste. We did a full episode about it last week. You guys should check it out. It's on YouTube. We talk about all the major zones within the Ardent Waste, from the Mirage Sea, which is aka my favorite. It's one of the best zones that we came up with and created. It's a very good place. We have the Twilight zone, which is the Bastion of Twilight. It's Ali's favorite zone also.
Yep.
We have the Mirage Canyons. We have the dunes. We have the Iridia excavations, which is next week. This is a teaser for next week. Next week we're going to be looking at the Iridia ruins. But for this week, let's go back about this week, the Mirage Oasis. So these four characters, I should say, fit properly in the Mirage Oasis, which is like a paradise of some sort in a very arduous desert.
If I
And
may add something on the side
go for
to a
it.
point you said earlier. These characters earlier and also said we create a world to fit them in. These characters, when we created them, when like we were talking about them creating and thinking about, at first they were just concepts, but now they grew on us so much that we felt that there is more. There's more to them. There's more we can create with them. So that was like one of me personally, at least, like motivation to think about this world with Nasser and try to help him if he needs any help. But as a whole, he did a great job with the whole continent and other continents, and it's very exciting.
Well,
Oh,
it's a group work. Nas and Ali working. You know, I'm doing the world. You're doing the characters. You need the
yeah.
characters to create the world. You need the world to create the characters. They go hand in hand. It's a circle. And on top of it all off, we're going to be releasing, I think in 2 weeks or three, we're releasing a new series that's going to be in conjunction to everything. Either it's going to be on the podcast day or the day after. We still haven't figured it out. But we're going to release
Mhm.
it's not like campaign where players play, but more like a narrated story of a party that travels in and out of Eldalore and explores it. And some of the characters that we're building with the character builds are going to be making appearances within the story. So this week is going to be about the Oasis. Next week it's going to be about the excavation team and the Iridia ruins. We're going to be building a party that like revolves around that, introducing, if I recall, a brand new race that is homebrewed by yours
Mhm.
truly, Ali, not myself.
Yes,
It's
the Sandstriders.
I just came up with the name. He came up with how the race works. But yeah,
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, we're looking forward to having you guys explore this world with us and narrate you guys some of the story and help you dive in. Of course, these podcasts that we're doing right now are mainly about explaining the builds, the ideas and philosophies behind them, giving you guys a sneak peek of what's going to happen in the coming week, giving you guys a recap about what's going to happen what happened in the past week and what you missed out on, and hopefully you go back and watch and listen. And yeah, I think for this week, it was a lot shorter than last week. Oh, well, we're like, what, 20 minutes less? Last week we spoke for over an hour. This week
I
it
asked
seems.
if you had Garomash.
I don't want people to think that we're less enthusiastic about these builds. Don't get us wrong, bro. So some weeks he's going to be more enthusiastic than others, but doesn't mean that the builds are bad. Everything we're presenting to you, we make
Yeah.
sure we like triple, quadruple proofread everything and make sure that it's something presentable to you guys. So yeah, any last words you'd like to add to people?
Uh, I would say basically, if you have any suggestion for builds, feel free to leave them in the comments. And yeah, it's been fun so far.
Yeah, hopefully this is the beginning of a very very long road for us, and we're enjoying every moment of it. We're big D&D players. We're actually we're running the new Fandelver campaign right now.
Yes, it's been
How
so
you're
much fun.
enjoying it? You're having fun with it?
Peak. Like Fandelver was my first campaign, and now coming back to the new Fandelver, oh, satisfying.
We haven't touched the new parts though, but I homebrewed and introduced a bit of the extra stuff that spiced up the campaign early on a bit, so they can have a small sneak peek, so that it doesn't feel as redundant. Of course, I know that the team behind the book actually did some very good work changing some of the things and making it more modern. It's a very nice book. I like it a lot, and DMing it is not that hard for me since, well, I already know Fandelver, ran it like more than three, 4 times. So yeah, I'm glad you guys are having fun with it. I guess that's enough for tonight. Thanks a lot for showing up, guys. I'm glad to have you with us. Thank you very much for listening. As usual, like, subscribe, follow, Now we're officially on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube. So wherever you are, in whatever platform you're listening, whether it's your phone, your car, your laptop, thank you for giving us your time. We love you guys. Have a good night.
Yep. Good night.
Take care, Ali. See you next week.
Yeah, man. Take care.